Hi everybody, it's Karen from AMP Global Youth and Global Scholar here with our final installment of our day of action around COVID-19, and I'm going to be talking to you a bit about how to take action around an issue you care about like COVID, or maybe it's some other that you've been tracking for a while. Here at AMP, we do a lot of supporting and uplifting of student activists who care about issues in their communities or at the state or the federal levels. COVID is yet another of these kinds of issues. We have many, many urgent challenges facing us, and we're really excited to help students find their voice and their power to speak out about them. So in the time I have, I'm just going to give you a preview of some of the big tools that we like to help people think about, to help you organize your thoughts if you're fired up and you want to do something but you don't really know where to start. And there are 4 areas I'm going to touch on. The first is a tool for understanding an issue. The second is a tool for making a choice around what you're going to do to address that issue. The third is a basic rundown of how to think about your strategy. And the fourth is a brainstorm of things you can do once you've figured out what your strategy is around that intervention addressing this issue that you care about. Okay, so 4 quick things. I'm going to run through them pretty quickly now, but I'm also going to write up some tips in the comments and give you some more to think about after this brief conversation. So understanding an issue. I'll tell you, very often we see people who are passionate about an issue, and the first thing that comes to mind is, oh, I need to build a health clinic. Let's raise money for a health clinic for some place. Time and step back and think about the causes of an issue and the expressions of it, because they're usually much more complicated than you expect them to be. We use a tool called a problem tree. You may have seen this elsewhere. I've put COVID on here. We put the actual problem at the trunk, and then the things contributing to it are the roots, and the things that come out of it, the expressions of it, are the branches. And you can take an issue you care about, whether it's COVID or homelessness in your community or something else, and do a similar graphic. And it really helps you see the contributing forces and the results of that issue. Either place has places you can intervene, right? The contributing forces for COVID, for example, I put weak health systems or existing inequality in our communities that's leading to a disproportionate impact on the most marginalized. There are expressions of it like financial insecurity, feelings of isolation and loneliness, hunger, what's this one? The illness itself, of course, and medical challenges that result from that. You can find places to intervene on either side, right? But this is a good way to map an issue out and see, okay, what's contributing to it and what's happening because of it. Because there are going to be a lot of ways to get involved on either end of that process, if you will, of the tree trunk. The next tool we use, once you have you've done that mapping and you have a set of ideas of how to get involved, is called the SMART tool. You may have seen this before. We actually use a version called SMARTY, and that's an acronym that helps you look at possible interventions and decide which are the most strategic. Let me break out the SMARTY acronym for you. I think there's 6 parts to it. So S is strategic, M is measurable, A is achievable, R is realistic, T is time-bound, and the E, that E part, is equitable. So when you have many things you could do, cure COVID or find a vaccine, right? Is that strategic, measurable, achievable, realistic for you to do? Maybe not. But what about loneliness in your school or hunger in your community? Those could be very strategic and achievable and realistic and time-bound, and center equity. And so they might surface once you've done, you can kind of map things against this matrix. And again, I'll write it in the comments. You can start to see which interventions seem like the best bet for you, which ones are the most logical for you to do. Okay. After that, the basics of strategy. Strategy is the blueprint for everything, right? But we always say to people, it's actually quite easy to get your mind around because it's pretty logical. When you think of strategy, there are a lot of different elements. I'm going to highlight 3 for you. One is, once you've chosen an intervention in your community, say you want to get more support for a local food bank that's always struggled but is needed more now, it is needed now more than ever because of the challenges of COVID and joblessness and people experiencing hunger. Think about who has the power to make that happen. We call those people our targets. okay? Maybe it's funding from the city council or from the state government. Maybe it's something else. Maybe they need donated space from a local university or a religious organization. Whoever has the power to make that happen are called your targets. Now, the people who can help you make it happen, or who are your allies, are a second group you want to identify. They're part of a broader group we call our stakeholders. Okay, so you know who you're trying to influence, and then think about who can help. And then the third level is what's going to influence those people. Now, take a target like a state legislator or a federal legislator. They're elected, right? So ostensibly, they are beholden to their constituents. They're interested in votes. They want people to think they're doing a good job in office. So things like writing your paper or launching a petition that targets them could have that amount of pressure on them. If you're trying to influence a parent or a leader in your school district or your principal, maybe information's what's going to influence them. You know, we often use this example of a campaign to try and get your parents to get you a pet, right? Because it's a good thing to get your mind around the elements of campaigning for. And maybe your parent just needs to know you're going to be responsible and take care of it. So you need to present the plan of how you're going to do that. And it was just information that was the blocker for them. They needed the information to feel comfortable making that choice. Okay? So when you think about your target, think about what's going to influence them. Same with your supporters and your helpers, right? What's going to get them excited to help you out? Is it understanding how the issue affects their group? Is it something else? Is it, a common interest in some end goal in your community? You know, you can often find groups or supporters who are going to join you in a cause for a reason that may feel different than your own, but they're interested in where you're going together, if that makes sense, right? Now, the final bit, and this is where it can get really fun, are your tactics. So what you use to influence your targets or your inspire people to join you, you know, your stakeholders, your allies, and your helpers are called your tactics. And tactics are going to change depending on who you're trying to influence. I've referred to a couple of them already. So an elected official may be influenced by something like a petition or a call to their office or an email to their office. Somebody who's in a position of power that's not been elected, like a parent or a school leader, may be influenced by something like education, facts, reports, a video. Maybe the decision is a financial one and an organization or a group can't afford to do something. So maybe the thing you need to do is help them raise money. Maybe it's support for grant writing. Maybe it's a fundraiser. Maybe it's a dance-a-thon in your community, right? To get the money in to help the food bank keep the lights on to support people in your community. You can get really creative with tactics, and it's a fun side of campaigning because you can get a lot of attention, you can generate a lot of community, and it can kind of combine several goals at the same time in that sense. You know, you can build your community of allies and stakeholders. You can also influence your targets because you're doing something meaningful that will put pressure on them. Okay, so that is our rapid run through some of the basic thinking about how to get involved in an issue you care about. To summarize, it begins with understanding your issue. A tool like the problem tree can help. Okay. Second, it involves making a decision about what you're going to do. What intervention is SMARTY, strategic, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound, and centers equity. Okay. Third, it's thinking about your basic strategy elements. Who has the power to influence the issue? Who's going to help you do it? And what's going to inspire both of those groups? And then fourth, it's thinking about your actual tactics. What are the things you can do to influence them? Is it a petition? Is it a fundraiser? Is it writing your paper? Is it education, educational videos? Is it something else? There's an endless list of tactics, and this is where we can get really creative and inspired and inspiring. So again, that's a rapid fire run through some of the basics that we teach here at AMP and Global Scholar around getting involved in an issue you care about. I'm going to write these out in the comments. Please ask questions and know that everything we do is because we believe so passionately in the power of youth to get involved in issues affecting us during times of crisis like this and every day. So we're here to offer support and guidance, again, through our training programs like Global Scholar. We put a lot on social media like this, and as well as on our website. It's been a long day, but thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for all you're doing. Take care of yourselves and your families and your communities, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.